and entrepreneur straight out of New York City, Michael Chernow. What's cracking?
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Creatures of Habit podcast. Today I've got a guest on the show that is pretty special. His name is Jason Wersland. He is the inventor of a tool that I was introduced to, we're in 2023, about 8 years ago. This thing was a game changer in my life because I was running marathons. I was doing Muay Thai kickboxing at the time, and I had no idea that there was something that could help pound out my quads and my glutes the way this thing did for me. It's called the Theragun. He invented it, and Theragun has now become one of the biggest tools and brands and businesses in the world of recovery, sports recovery, movement recovery. The business is now called Therabody. Jason is the chief wellness officer and founder of the brand. They have evolved enormously from Theragun. There are a number of different products that Therabody has developed and has patents for. We're going to talk about a lot of them today, but really I'm excited to talk to Jason about the habits that the guy does, why he ended up creating such a cool tool, why he has stuck with this amazing brand, amazing business that is really, really changing the way people recover, helping people. Literally, like we had dinner last night, he was telling me stories about how this has saved people's lives. Also, my wife is, she's an equestrian, and I was sharing with Jason that my wife's horse was going through some stuff. The horse was, her horse Nala couldn't leave her stable, couldn't leave her area. Well, I don't even know what it's called. I'm not an equestrian. What's it called?
Stable. You're
stable.
Right. Yeah.
Couldn't leave. Had to stay in this thing for almost 3 months. Could not lie down because Nala had an injury on her front leg, right on the back of her elbow. So if she moved, if she bent it, it would have broken, reinfected. Anyway, the horse was standing for almost 3 months straight, and my wife took my Theragun and said, I wonder if Nala would like this. And I was like, she might be terrified of it, but try it. And Donna, and the cool thing about it is that these things are like silent. So like, it's not like it used to be when I first was introduced to Theragun, where you can hear it from like 3 miles down the road. Now they're like silent. You barely can hear that the things are on. So she did it, and she was like, she came home that night and she was like, the horse is in love with the Theragun. I Theragunned her. I massaged her for an hour, and she just couldn't get enough of it. And so now every day, my wife uses the Theragun on Nala. And I told Jason, and he was like, well, you wouldn't believe that, like, we're going to launch an equestrian thing. So there's this, like, it's like endless what they're able to do at Therabody. I'm super excited to get into it with Jason. Jason, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you very much. This is really cool. When you're talking about 8 years, I was just thinking about how much has transpired over those 8 years for both of us.
When did you launch Theragun?
The company was officially launched in March. It's actually our 7th year anniversary pretty soon. In March of 2016. But I think the important piece that people don't know or maybe miss is I was injured in an accident in 2007, and that's what made me create it. So the first one I made was in 2008. So from 2008 to 2016, 8 years, I developed the product. I developed what the science was. I treated patients. And so when we launched in 16, people were like, there was an appetite for it. So it wasn't just this new thing that came out, especially in our world, which was our world back then, in the fitness and exercise world. So yeah, it was 2016, and then we launched. Gen 5 is our 5th version since 16, which is pretty cool, but it's my 14th version from the very beginning. And we talk about it a little bit, but you learn a lot with each evolution, and then the technology that's available to you changes every 6 months. In 2017, I had a guy call me from Happy Valley up Northern California. He said, you know what, I think you should put a chip in your Theragun. And I was like, what am I going to do with a chip? And now we have chips in the Theraguns.
And what does the chip do?
It tracks, it gives you protocols. It's basically a little computer chip in the Theragun. So the Gen 5 has specific protocols built in, so you don't have to connect to your app. You want relax, sleep, warm up, like it's all in the gun.
Wow.
Yeah.
Before we dive into this, I would really, can you just give us a who you are and how you got to where you are right now?
I chose to be a chiropractor after filing bankruptcy in 2000. I had a business, a guy embezzled a bunch of money from me and I had to shut it down. And I had a chance to say, okay, what am I going to do again with my life? I was going through a divorce at the time. It was a horrible time. And I thought, you know what? I don't like the path I'm going on. I want to switch things around and I got to go down a path that I trust. My neighbor was the chiropractor for the Utah Jazz. I watched what he did and how he worked with the athletes with his hands, and I was just so fascinated by that. So in 2000, I decided to go to chiropractic school. I was in my late 20s. Was supposed to take 3.5 years. It took me 7 years because I was working full time, I had 2 kids, that whole thing, and I didn't pass national boards. And you know, they say when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. I wasn't ready. In 2006, I started a practice. I was still in school, but in LA, you can work under another person's license. 2006, I started a practice. All of 2006, all of 2007, October of 2007 was I had my motorcycle accident. So I was looking for something that I could use on myself because I knew what I needed, but all of the modalities that I had at the time were in my office, and they're like, you can't fit them in a backpack, let alone a truck. You know what I mean? So I wanted something that was mobile and portable that I could use to take the pain away. The pain was excruciating. I had a 9mm disc bulge in my neck on the right side, so I ended up losing feeling in my hand and atrophy and everything. So I was developing something for myself. I wasn't doing it to make money or sell whatever. That wasn't my drive. I literally every day was thinking, what can I do? I spent a lot of my time when I was younger growing up on a farm. Our family had a farm. I worked in power tools for my 20s, installing carpet, hardwood, cabinets, all that stuff. So I was really familiar with that, and then just kind of came together. And when I was having my pain, I didn't care what it looked like. I didn't care what you called it. I didn't care how it sounded. I wanted something that could hit my muscles in the areas where I just felt like they needed massage. And I can't get a massage 24 hours a day. So that's how I created the first one. And then, you know, there was a lot of stories between 2008 and 2016 of people that came in and out of my life, helped the brand, left their mark, moved on to their other things in their life. We launched Theragun in 2016. In 2019, end of 19, beginning of 20, we moved from Theragun as a company to Therabody as the company, but we maintained Theragun as a product. So Therabody became this overarching umbrella. And I consider myself really lucky because I get to do every day what I love. I treat patients, I treat people, I get my hands on the best athletes in the world, and I get my hands on, we were up in New Hampshire the other day with a place called Project Walk. There's stroke patients, myelitis patients that can't move, and to see what it does for them. You know, last night we were talking, you said, who's this for? And I said, it's actually for everybody. You give me a demographic and I'll tell you what it's good for. So my role really is about education. My drive is making sure that we have enough science to validate whether it works for equestrians or stroke patients or people that were paralyzed. That's really what my focus is. And I hope people really understand that the intention behind our brand is really to help you. That's what we create products for. We try and find a solution and find a product that can fix that. So whatever the problem is, what's the solution to that problem? We're not just making products. And if you look at our ethos and a lot of the products, they all tie together in some way. So that's really what I do. I'm glad I'm not necessarily attached to a P&L because I'm not a good sales guy. I like to say I educate, I don't sell. And if I educate enough and you understand how it fits in your life, then it's just a matter of getting one.
That's such a great thing that you just mentioned, the P&L thing. I also hate P&L. I really do. And I'm not, I used to be really ashamed of saying that. I used to feel like I wasn't a good business person if I said out loud, oh, the P&L, I hate the P&L, you know?
Yeah.
And there's what I've learned over the years of being a business person, an entrepreneur like you, is that there are people that really love the P&L.
Yeah.
Like love actually being able to figure out how to make something work on a piece of paper that could potentially be reality, right? And then take reality and show to someone, this is what actually happened. So like, there are people that really do love that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm a dreamer. So
Visionary.
yeah, so the P&L is going to, in many cases, tell me my dream unrealistic. You know?
Yep.
The P&L is gonna say, well, if you look at all the other P&Ls that have been produced over time, what you're trying to do be very hard. You know? And that to me is like, don't shatter my dream, man.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
For me, that's where the challenge starts. You're saying I can't do this? Okay, guess what?
Here we
That
go.
means I'm going to do it.
Walk us through kind of where we are, so the evolution from Theragun to Therabody. I mean, it's so remarkable what you have now available for people, right? Like you're not just touching the technology of helping people move better through massage, self-inflicted massage. I don't even what do you call it?
Self-care.
Self-care. But you have a number of other, you're touching a number of other arenas in the self-care world. Where are you at now with that? Like what else do you guys have?
Well, I think from a big picture perspective, there was a really cool situation that happened when we came up with the name Therabody. The URL wasn't taken. Instagram wasn't taken. It was like, how did no one think of this? That's the name we're taking. We didn't know down the road we were going to come up with Theramind, Theracup, all these other Thera names that we had that brand equity in. So Therabody was a pillar. It was our company. It was sort of created this ecosystem and this ethos of products. But how could all the products tie together? And that's sort of what my role is with our engineers and our innovation team is you have Therabody as the company. Theramind is something that we launched in September of last year, which is it's a platform that basically has meditation tracks with specific frequencies, binaural beats, motivation, exciting things, but they speak to your nervous system. So as I learned, as we created products for Therabody, and then we created this Theramind, I started realizing that it doesn't matter how good our product for example, our jet boots, we were talking about it earlier, how well our jet boots work if your brain and your mind is running wild. You're stressed about bills, work, relationships, whatever it is that's like top on your list, your nervous system has this hierarchy. And when you're in a sympathetic state, it's constantly running through that Rolodex of issues. Mm. And I like to say you can't, Trevor Mowad said this actually, you can't think yourself out of anything. Think about that. You can't think your way out of anything. You have to do your way out of something. So for us, it's like, what can we do to provide that for you? And our new goggles that we can talk about when you're ready, we've implemented this PPG reader that tracks your heart. The heart doesn't lie. And if I'm working with an athlete and they're fired up before a game, great, love that. How can I make that even more? But after a game, when they got to go home and recover and get ready for the next day, the next game, the next practice, it's really hard for them to bring themselves down. The interesting thing about our bodies is you don't have your sympathetic fight or flight cannot be on at the same time that your parasympathetic is on, which is rest and digest. They can't. It's a light switch. It's on or it's off. And so to be able to turn on your parasympathetic, that's been a difficult thing over the years, unless you're a really good meditator or you do really good breathing exercises. You can't bring your heart rate down. So what we've done is we've been able to now track your ability to lower your heart rate and apply other products around to treat your nervous system in a way that preps you for whatever you're doing next. I kind of look at it like a pit stop in Formula One. We work with Red Bull and some other teams, and they have like a control center. Your brain, no different. And all of the information is fed back to that control center. How hot the tires are, the track conditions, the transmission, all of this information gets fed back. So when they pull in to do a pit stop, they're doing it in less than 2 seconds because they already know exactly what they need to get out and perform on the track ahead of them because what they've done behind them. So our products are to be able to get your nervous system to a place where you can do what you have to do. Be a mom, show up like your wife, to be an equestrian. That takes a lot of work. You got to move stuff and lift things, and like you can't just go there and, I think, so that's, you ask kind of how things fit together. We have Therabody. Under Therabody, we have Theramind. Now we're talking about things that have the heart, our smart goggles.
So the smart goggles are really playing into the heart component now.
Yeah, we call them smart goggles because one of the modalities on them is actually the PPG reader, what I told you about. Mm-hmm. There's 3 preset modalities. You have Smart Relax, which is relaxing because you're monitoring your heart rate. Focus, which is great. I use Focus when I have migraines. It feels the pressure, the heat, everything. It literally has changed my life with migraines. I get them probably once every couple of months, and it comes on heavy. I know the warning signs, all that stuff. Nothing's ever helped. Cold towels, hot towels, all dark rooms. You still have this lingering effect, and that's actually taken that away.
Wow.
And then the last thing, which is most important, I think, for everyone, is sleep. We could do better with our sleep routines, all of us. And I'm not saying I'm perfect either. But I think if you have kids, it's whatever their bedtime is, an hour and a half, 2 hours before bedtime, I got to get the kids start winding down. What are they eating? Are they going to read? They have a routine.
Right.
And until they get into their teens, suddenly that routine's out the door because they stay up late. But we need to all treat ourselves like you treat your children. There's a routine to get to bed. And a lot of times, for most of the people out there, they can't sleep because their brain is running 1,000,000 miles a minute. And we need to get out of our head and into our heart. So to be able to have something you can put on that covers your eyes, massages the head, and allows you now to focus on your breathing, your heart rate, those problems are going to be there tomorrow. You're not going to fix them while you're sleeping. So those are the 3 things we put in the smart goggles. And that kind of gives you also an overall perspective of where our intentions are.
Can you pull them out? I just want to check them out.
Sure.
So, I mean, I honestly have never, and this podcast is, we really cover the habits, routines, and rituals of people that inspire me, right? And others, because I'm so passionate about habits, routines, and rituals. I really do believe that we have sort of gone away from this idea that structure really does offer happiness and freedom, where people are like, oh God, you're so robotic. And I'm like, actually, the truth is that when I know what I have to do to potentially control somewhat of an outcome, I feel so much happier. I'm so much more free. And I've never heard anybody talk about the sleep routine like we prep for our kids. Our kids have my kids have the exact same sleep routine every single night. And you know what's interesting? So 7:15 comes.
That's your time.
That's the time.
Yeah.
7:15 comes.
Ding, ding.
We go upstairs. It's toothbrush wars, which I make my kids battle over. I give them 60 seconds, and it's a battle to see who brushes their teeth better. But it gets them to brush their teeth happily.
Yeah, love it. Yeah.
So we do toothbrush wars, piss. And then we go I take them into their room. I put on the white noise machine right away. We read 2 books every night. They go down. I say a few things to them consistently every single night since they're born. They hear the exact same things out of me, and they love it. And that was another really interesting thing. And it's so structured. They don't really think it's structured. They're not thinking that it's like robotic or militant.
I think everyone does that.
But they really look forward to hearing the exact same thing out of my mouth every night. And if for whatever reason I don't say it, if it doesn't come like right at the time that they're expecting it, they prompt me for it. They say, hey, Dad, what about the 13 things? I'm like, oh my gosh, you're right, the 13 things.
Sorry about that.
Sorry, 13 things. And they love rattling it off to me. And then I sing them Stand By Me every single night since they're born, and I hang out with them. That is their routine. My younger son is out within 30 seconds. Out like since he's born. My older son takes a little longer, but it's just so interesting that I've never actually thought of that when, as a parent, you give your children a routine. Not all parents, because we have friends, and what I think is so interesting and polarizing, now that you mention that, is we have friends who don't have a consistent sleep routine for their kids. And by the way, they're very different children than our children.
Yeah, the behaviors are different, aren't they?
Very different.
Yeah.
Incredibly different. I'm not saying it's a good or bad thing, but I think you can read between the lines.
Yep.
Without that kind of structure that I owe to my wife in regards to the kids, she is the regimented structure human when it comes to our children.
Scandinavian in her.
Scandinavian, very, very like, so I just think it's so interesting. I want to talk about your sleep routine, but let's talk about these things for a minute.
Yeah, so there's the preset protocols are on this side, so it's on the right hand side. The PPG reader is this thing here. Mm-hmm. So I'll turn this on and I'll show you what it does. So if I put my finger over that, see how that red light comes on?
Yep.
So that red light is what's reading your pulse.
Okay.
That's smart. This is on, right now it's on sleep. But when I put it on smart relax, feel that.
Oh, wow.
So if you throw them on, you'll feel pressure points.
Oh my God.
It inflates.
So nice.
It's got heat, and what you're feeling is your heart rate. So after about 2 minutes, it starts now feeding you a lower heart rate than what your heart is currently. So let's say we're sitting here, you've been thinking about it, you had coffee, whatever, you may be at 65 beats a minute. We want to get you down to 50. So it's going to feed you 50, and your heart over the next 15 minutes will slowly match that.
This is insane.
Isn't that awesome?
This is insane, man.
So that's why we call it smart relax, because it's smart, it's reading your heart, it becomes personalized to you. Then we have focus, which is the one I mentioned to you I use for my migraines, which is amazing. Mm-hmm. If you want to reach up with your right hand, push that button once. That's different now. You feel just the vibration.
Oh, yeah.
Left hand side is heat and vibration. You can toggle between those. And then the last one is, if you hit that on the right side, is sleep. It just takes the heat away. And as you know, the best time to sleep is when your body's in a cooler state, because the heart rate slows down. People think heat is good. My wife has 30 blankets, but it's actually cooling the body. So that's what it's for. I mean,
Dude, this thing is absolutely insane.
Isn't that awesome?
It is insane.
Yeah.
This is like the coolest thing ever. So for sleep, let's just say, how do I turn her off?
Just hold it down for 3 seconds. Yep.
When would you suggest putting this on?
Sleep routine, like
getting to bed.
Yeah. So in a perfect world, and we both know when you run businesses, it's not always perfect. I have late calls, and we're a global company, so I'm on different time zones with different people. But my perfect sleep routine is 9:30, 10 o'clock. I'll start getting in. I'll go literally pull my blankets down, put my pillows where I want them, walk in, brush my teeth, come in.
Let's do this.
Okay.
I want. Can you walk us through your sleep routine from beginning to end? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
So I'm fanatical about my sleep. My goal this year, my number one goal this year, is to get 8 hours every night, because I know what that will do for me over time. So I'm intent on that. My wife likes to stay up late, so I'll be like, babe, going to bed, love you, see you in the morning. I'm in the room no later than 10:30. I like to start my process around 9:45, and this is how it goes. I get up, go in, change my clothes, take my whatever, get ready for bed, walk into my room, pull my covers down, move my pillows around to where I want them, make sure I have a Theraface. So I have a Theraface sitting next to my bed, make sure it's charged because I'll use that. And then I'll go brush my teeth, take my supplements and stuff, Athletic Greens, go back in, sit on the edge of my bed, and I take my Theragun out, and now I start treating myself. And I know from our science that if I work through tissues of my body for 2 minutes or more, that actually triggers your parasympathetic. So now I'm starting to get sleepy. Like I'm starting to feel like, oh, okay, there it goes. I'm releasing all the tension or stress. I have a ritual that I kind of do in my head. If I'm really worried about something, I take that and put it on a hanger, and I hang it on a metaphorical tree outside my house. Like, okay, you're going to stay there and I'll see you tomorrow. We'll deal with that then, instead of like swimming around in my mind. I get into a really good state. I actually have some CBD too that I'll take just before I start doing Theragun. My Theragun.
How do you take your CBD? A tincture?
Droppers, yeah. My sleep routine's between 5 and 8 minutes, and I don't time it. I just have certain areas of my body that I do, and I know how long to do it, and I kind of, it's just a routine. Lay down, take my Theraface out, and I'll just do my Theraface routine on my face.
Well, and tell me about the Theraface real quick.
Theraface is a handheld percussive therapy device that has a 3 millimeter amplitude with different attachments, just like the Theragun, for your face. It has red light, blue light, infrared light. It has hot and cold. It's amazing. Do we have one? Sweet.
We have one?
Yeah.
Let's check it out.
Yeah, you got to see it.
I mean, you're here, dude. I want to see them all.
So Theraface does the same thing to my head and mind and my brain that Theragun does to the rest of my body. I'm now hitting these trigger points in my forehead that I didn't know I had until I hit it with something, and I'm like, oh my God, I didn't know that was there. So you think about how many people have those issues. We carry so much tension in our head and neck, and typically people, you and I probably are really fanatical about our pillows, but a lot of people don't understand how important that part of your sleep routine is.
So funny.
Right?
It's so funny you say that. So about a month and a half ago, I did a poll. I said, hey, I'm looking for the best pillow
Oh my God.
in the game.
I wish I would have been tuned in for that.
Dude, I had so many people send me all sorts of crazy stuff, right? Are you a side sleeper? Are you a stomach sleeper? Are you a back sleeper? How do you sleep? I just didn't know. I probably got like 50 responses from people that were asking me questions that were like, this is what you should use. But I got like 250 people saying, please share the results. I want to know the best pillow. Like, I'm dying to know the best pillow. So many people. Do you guys have a pillow?
Not yet.
Dude, I'm telling you right now, like, there's obviously pillows out there, right? I got sent, by the way, because I just did that one thing. I got sent 17 different pillows, right? And I found a pillow that I feel is the one that I think, I probably shouldn't mention it, but I found a pillow that I really, really like, and they send it to you with a bunch of different, they basically give you directions on put more in if you're this, pull it out if you're this way, try this, try that, and they send you all the stuff to put inside the pillow, or take out of the pillow. Anyway, pillow is so important. When you say you pull down your covers and you situate your pillows, what do you mean?
Ooh, very good point. I kind of breezed right past that. I sleep with 5 pillows. My head is on one. I have one between my legs. I have one on either side of my body. The one I'm sleeping on is usually 2, but when I'm at home, I have just one that's a little thicker. I sleep on my sides. I have one between my legs, sometimes 2, depending on how much my leg and back is feeling. And I have one in front of me, and I have one behind me. So I'm not laying directly on my side. I'm laying, if this is my back, I'm laying like this against that pillow. Okay. So it takes the pressure off my sinuses, kind of rolls me to the back of my head instead of literally the side of my head. So that's how I sleep. And then when I turn, just like it takes you 14 days to create a habit, I now when I turn while I'm sleeping, I just move the pillows, leave this one here, come around and now hug the other one on the other side. And what's really important for me is that I'm in a fetal position, relatively fetal. The blood flow needs to move, but when you're in that cradled position, your nervous system recognizes that you're resting. It's like babies. If you think about how when you snuggle them up nice and tight, it's the same thing. So I try to have that between my legs and my arms. Everyone, doesn't matter if you're a big guy like you and I, but I don't want my elbows to be lower than my shoulder. So if I'm laying on my side and my arm is fully collapsed, it's not good for my shoulder. It's not good for my blood flow into my neck. Mm-hmm. So when I'm laying, I want that pillow to be enough that it's keeping my arm up off the bed.
You don't want it like you don't.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. So once I did that pillow thing, the pillow poll, there was a pillow company that was like, they asked me if I was a side sleeper. They make a side sleeping pillow. That's their whole shtick. It's like, I'll say them because they were super kind, right? Pillow Cube. And so their pillow they make a cube that is literally a square.
I've seen it.
And then they make this rectangular one. They sent it to me. I thought I was a side sleeper. I found out because of the pillow cube that I'm actually a stomach sleeper. So I sleep on my stomach to the side. And the pillow cube didn't really work for me because the purpose of the pillow cube for the side sleeper is that it keeps your head straight this way with your spine as opposed to this.
Yeah. Or the other way. Pillow's too big and it cranks your neck the other way.
Right. Yeah. So this thing, I wanted it to work so bad, but I ended up finding out that I was sleeping on my stomach more, so my head was kind of like that at night, and it just didn't work. And the guy, super sweet people, but that's so interesting about the pillow thing. It's so interesting because I really do believe that pillows play such a big role in successful sleep.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the TheraFace real quick.
It's got 8 modalities in one. It comes in a little carry-on bag. I have it with me all the time. I should have brought it. I didn't think about it. Check it out. It's TheraFace. Okay. I was at a golf tournament in a few weeks ago. Actually, it was in the fall of last year. This lady, we were doing introductions on the tee box. Hey, I'm so-and-so, I'm so-and-so. And I said who I was. She's like, oh, my God, I was just using my Theragun in my car on my head. I had the worst headache today. You guys should make one for the face and head. I was like, give me your phone. Literally search, pull it up. There it is right there. And she's like, oh my God, bought one right there. So it's actually a really cool story. People were asking, can we use the mini on our face? And I was saying, no, it's not made for that. The tissue's not that thick. You're going to be hitting bone. So we got enough inquiries and requests that we started looking into that, figuring out what that looks like. What is that? There's nothing on the market that does that. So we kind of created a space. I mentioned this to you last night, but we got Time Magazine's Product of the Year last year.
I got to get my hands on one of those TheraFaces.
Yeah, I'll make sure you get one.
So all right. So now you're at the edge of your bed. I'm sorry for getting so technical with the questions, but I think it's I really love to hear this, and especially people in probably I would imagine the majority of the people that are listening to this podcast either own a Theragun, but definitely know about the company, right? Like you say, you do it for 5 to 8 minutes before you go to bed at night. What is there a specific protocol that for somebody that's just got a Theragun or has a Theragun and has hearing from the founder, what would be all right, this is what you should be doing with the thing?
Well, as you can imagine, I get asked that a lot.
I would imagine.
So we may have an app, and that app is literally protocols that I've loaded into that app so that you can do it autonomously. You don't need me, but let's go over it. In the sleep routine, there's about 6 areas of your body that I recommend you treat. I start with my feet. So I'll literally lean over and I do the tops of my feet. And then I'll bring one foot up and hit one side. One of our athletes, Ronaldo, he likes to sit on his foot and have his foot exposed to the other side. So you can hit the bottom of your feet on this side.
Is there an attachment that you recommend for this?
I would say the Super Soft, which is
the big
really
ball.
Gentle, or the big ball. The super soft is a little gentler. It's not such a strong impact. Then you hit your shins, and people forget about the muscles in your shins. If you have calf cramps or calf strain, it's typically connected to your tibia, the anterior part of your legs. So feet, fronts of my legs, calves for just a second. I don't need too much on that. Then I go to my quads, and I'll do one, then I do the other. Obviously, I just have one Theragun in my hand. And I go to my arms, both sides of my arms, triceps, chest. I finish with my traps. So those are, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you take about 2 minutes on each one of those areas, that's 12 minutes. I don't spend too much time on my arms, just depending on what I've done and how tender they are. Because you're getting granular, I think it's important. People need to realize when you're running Theragun along your body and you find somewhere that's sore, that's like, oh, wow. Our instinct is to push more, like to make it go away, right? Well, the nerve, you'll never win if you fight the nervous system. I learned that through my own experience and watching it through other people. So you just let it ride. Just let it rest there. If you hit a spot and it's like, whoa, just hold it there for 3 seconds. And between 3 and 5 seconds, you will literally feel your body release it.
So not push. Don't apply pressure.
Yep. And to get a little bit more
doing
granular,
it wrong.
Typically, guys are the ones that have that problem. And to get a little more granular, because it's you and I know you, you'll also have memories. Our body stores things. And you may have a memory that comes to you from in your teenage years that was like, oh, wow, I forgot that I fell out of that tree. And now suddenly there's something there on that body part that sort of releases. And that's also part of this like lethargic experience before I go to sleep. And I just observe them. I don't try and fix them, but I just observe them. My brother passed, for example. There's things inside of my body that I have memories of because he and I were so close growing up that I'll remember. And it's like, oh my God, that's so special. I remembered that. If you're so busy into your thing and you lay down, you're worried about work and stuff, you don't really get a chance to release that stuff. So it's not necessarily the body parts that you're doing, it's how you do them and the intention that you have while you're doing it. I'm not looking at my clock being like, okay, 2, 3, 4, 2, 1. Okay, next guy. It's not that. I'm experimenting. Like, what's going on with my body? Oh my God, my IT bands are tight today. Where does that go? I'm going to track that up. Oh, wow, my TFL. What the hell? Okay, I'm going to work there for a second. Oh, wow, I sat at that chair for 30 minutes. Now you suddenly start paying attention to your body. And we only have one. Mm-hmm. You don't get to replace it. At least not now anyway. Maybe with AI, they'd be able to do something. But I get really obviously passionate about that because I think I watched the effect it had on me, and I've watched the effect that Theragun and our other products have on other bodies, and the stories that I was sharing with you the other day. It's profound, and we miss it. It's because it's subtle, like you're not going in there to have an experience. You just want to go to sleep. So it's easy to be like, oh, my gun's in the other room. I'm just going to go to sleep. I'm fine. I don't want to, we're so lazy. I don't want to walk, 20 feet to get my gun. I'm just going to try and go to sleep without it. And I'm guilty of that as well. If I'm in a hotel and it's in my bag and it's on the other side of the room and I'm already in bed, I got the windows open, it's cold. I'm like, I'll just try and go to sleep. Man, every time I get up and do it, it's worth it.
That's why I love doing this, man. I love doing this. I'm like so passionate about being able to connect with people and like learn something that could be like what you're sharing right now could be the game changer for somebody listening to the podcast, right? Yeah. I've done a lot of these podcasts. I have not missed a week in podcasting for years, 4 years, right? Wow. Even though my podcast is still small as shit, right? I mean, the people that listen are dedicated and loyal. I've been asking people about their night routine. Creatures of Habit podcast probably for the last year and a half. no one has ever said Theragun before bed. People have talked about Theragun while we're on the podcast in their recovery habits, but no one has said Theragun before bed. And it just makes so much sense, where you're literally like releasing anxiety and stress in your muscles before you go to bed.
Yeah.
You know, I do some, so I love to journal, right? And I created a journal that we sell at Creatures of Habit. It's a KOH habit stacking journal. And I've been journaling for a bunch of years, and there's some journals that I've used that have a lot of prompts that I just never do. I never, like, it'll say ask me the same shit every day. I'm just like, I'm not going to answer that one.
Yeah.
And so
I'm already got that.
Yeah. I just do, there's things that I don't like I don't like planning my month every month, right? Like, so I just in the Creatures Habit Journal, I didn't include that. But I do like asking myself the question, what was one awesome thing that happened today?
Yeah.
And what was one thing that didn't go so well? Or I journal in the morning, so I say about the day before. And what that does for me, similar to what you're talking about in walking through your body and being like, oh wait, that happened because I did do that at CrossFit today. That was a little tweak there. Maybe I'll spend a little bit more time here. And what you're doing is reflecting on your day when most people don't ever take the time, right? When I started asking myself the question, what was one awesome thing that happened yesterday? What it forced me to do in the morning at 5:30 or whatever it is that I do my journaling, go back and think about my day yesterday.
Yeah.
Be like, okay, so I woke up here. This happened. That happened. My son looked at me in the eye and told me he loved me. Dude, I just blew past that. I just blew right past that thing that happened. That's monumental. He took the time, my kid, 5 years old, looked me in the face and said, Daddy, I love you. And I was like, oh, I love you too. And then move on with it.
Yep.
So I just love the fact that how you're walking through your body, you're actually being mindful, right? It's a mindful act, not just are you helping yourself recover, release, move better, feel better, but you're also oh, wait a second, let me be oh yeah, that happened. I could spend a little bit more time here now. I thought it was important to mention that.
If we talked about this, you bring someone in front of me. There was a woman, I was in Boston, and we were where the players, the Boston Bruins lounge, their food lounge. There was a lady there that was kind of like the mom, and I just got chatting with her because we were waiting for some people. And she was in her late 60s, and what do you do? And I tell her, and she's like, oh, I've seen those. I saw the boys using them, da-da-da. And she didn't think it was for her. I started having this conversation with her. I'm like, do you have any pain or anything? Side note, it's interesting that women never have pain. You and I'm all, I got this thing. And but women, somehow they always minimize it. I knew that. So I said to her, do your feet hurt at the end of the end of the day? Oh, my feet are killing me. I'm like, okay, so let's say that's not pain, but it's whatever that is. So using her as an example, we use our bodies all day long in the weirdest ways, and we're not aware of that, and we don't treat them. We don't take care of them. We don't do what our body needs to release that. And it doesn't matter if you're a waitress, a mailman, a fireman, a CrossFitter, especially CrossFitters, because the mentality is to always challenge, get stronger. And how do you get stronger? Well, and I say this a lot, and this probably makes a lot of sense to you. You don't get stronger when you go to the gym. You get stronger during recovery. That's when your body starts to repair and all that. And if you're not taking care of it and repairing, you're not going to get stronger. We talked about Matt Frazier. I mean, I've seen some of these guys, they're fanatical about their recovery. And it's not Saturdays. It's every day. I don't think that we should treat our bodies any different, whether you're a CrossFitter or you're a mom with 3 kids, sometimes even more, they need it more. So that I'm really passionate about making sure people take the time for self-care. I love that things have happened in a way, they say negative things sometimes lead to positive things. The pandemic and all of that scare of health and wellness has made people start to be okay with self-care. Did you get a massage this week? Suddenly now it's okay to get a massage this week. Like before it was like, I don't have time for that. That's a luxury I don't need. Like that's such a bad way of thinking. So all of our products are made for you to treat yourself. If you look at everything we have, we think about how can I put this in someone's hands and I don't need to be there and they can have an amazing experience. So that I just wanted to mention that because you're talking about, the areas of the body and how you treat yourself. I just think people neglect how much strain and stress they put on their bodies and their minds.
I think there's such a direct correlation between the amount of time and attention human beings give towards their self-care, self-love practice and their happiness in general.
1,000%. I 100% agree with you. There's a direct link.
Direct.
Yeah.
And the I don't have time, which is, I would say, probably 99.7% of the excuses that people say. I don't have time for it. I'm a father. I'm a mom. I'm married. I'm running businesses. I got a 12-hour job. I work the night shift. I this.
My commute.
That, all those things, which, by the way, viable, right? Like we all get it. Life is hard. Most of the time it's hard. However, you want to be happy, actually, not phony happy. Not somebody asks you how you're doing and you're like, great, man.
Yeah.
You really want to be happy. Like, understand what the priority is. And I have been so clear of my philosophy in life. I'm married, love my wife, she loves me back. I got 2 kids, love them, they love me back. I got a couple of businesses, podcast, athlete, I filled my life up with shit that I love.
Yeah.
I am the number one priority. Period. Done. I am the number one priority. That is it. I'm not afraid to say it. I am. I put myself first. And that doesn't mean that I don't hang out with my wife and kids because I'm like in the gym getting after it. Or I'm sitting in the sauna when I should be hanging out with them, doing like awesome projects. No, man, I make the time. I wake up at 4:30 so that I can do it because I know, like you said, you got one shot, dude. I mean, maybe we've lived 1,000 lives. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
But
right.
as far as we know right now, like we're here, we get one day. You got one day to put it on the board, right? Like that's what we're guaranteed, if that, right? And so, like, if you do not feel well, if you actually don't feel well internally, the chances of you being capable of providing anything to other people are slim.
Yeah.
If you hate your existence, if you're not happy with yourself, chances are you're way overthinking about yourself, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're like, I suck, I'm the worst, I'm this, I'm that, fuck it, I'm out, blah blah blah. Like you're really only thinking about yourself when you kind of hate yourself and you're not doing anything that's admirable towards yourself. And so if you can actually sacrifice the time in the morning, which is my philosophy, sacrifice time in the morning to just be totally self-indulgent in self-care, self-love, you're now available 100%, 90%.
Yeah.
Somebody ask you how you're doing, you could be like, I'm all right, I'm good. I'm actually good.
Yeah, and it's interesting, how are you doing? It's not how are you doing with this, or how are you doing with that, or how are you doing with your wife, it's how are you doing? The habits that people have, the small ones, taking a minute to just breathe, just clear your mind. There's a lot of research, and Huberman talks about this and stuff, about taking a moment to think of nothing. Like finding somewhere where you can just stop, in your eyes, close your eyes, and see a visual white screen, and just focus on that white screen and keep it really clear. You're resetting your nervous system. Your neurons and the way they connect in your brain can reset. So you now have the energy, the focus, the peacefulness, whatever that you're going to bring to the world. Instead, for many years, it's been go, 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 go. I don't have time for that. I'm going to focus. I got this and I got that call, text message, phone, da. You're not stopping, setting things down and just breathing. When I take the time to do that throughout the day, I have a thing I call quantum breathing. I could share that with you if you want.
Share it.
But I do that. When I do it at least 3 times a day, I try to do it 5 times a day. My days are so much more productive, peaceful, connected. You know, I talked to you last night about, I just haven't seen you for a while. I just wanted to connect. My ability to connect with people is stronger when I'm in there. So quantum breathing is, for me, is breathing the things that I want into my life. And the reason I call it quantum is because you're bringing this stuff from the quantum space. It's not there in front of you yet. So let's say my wife and I want to have a baby, let's say, okay? So one of my breaths is the baby. But here's the steps, here's the trick to it. I do a double breath in the nose.
So I want to see that double breath.
I'm going to explain to you and then I'll do it, okay? So as I close my eyes, and before I do the double breath, I try to picture a picture of my wife and I holding that baby. Just a shot, one picture. And I take it into my belly and I hold that for just a second and I'm imagining that picture, and then I switch and I let my body feel the emotion it would feel to have that. And I assign I put a word to that. Eternal love. So when I let go, I'm feeling eternal love for just a second. A lot of times we have a hard time putting ourselves in that. I can't feel that yet because I don't have it, which is BS. You feel it before you have it. Like, that's the trick. So for me, I have 5 things. I do 5 breaths. Takes me less than 30 seconds, but I can do it in the car. I can do it in an Uber. I can do it at my work. I literally will just close my eyes and drop my head. The times that I do it good, by the 3rd or 4th time in the day, I feel goosebumps. Because you're so connected with those things you want in your life, they start coming in. Now, the breathing in is a sympathetic experience. Like, you're getting excited to go do something. And that's why I want to see that. I want to brand that in my mind. And then as I exhale, that's a parasympathetic. Now I'm going to feel that feeling, whatever that is.
So is that double breath in, is that sort of like, what is the purpose of the double breath?
So in our lungs, we have these little alveoli. They look like strawberries. And the dark spots in them are where the air gets transferred from the lungs to the blood. And so the bigger those dark spots are in the strawberries, the more oxygen gets to the blood. So when your baby cries and they go, they're not doing that on purpose. That's the nervous system trying to calm them down. They need more oxygen in their body. Oh. And the body knows that. Think about babies that have cried, the first cry they've had. They do that. So when you double breath through your nose intentionally, it goes. Does that make sense? So now you're suddenly, the alveoli are like, woo, woo. They're just huge. And you now are intaking way more oxygen to the bloodstream than you are if you're just doing a normal breath.
So it's so interesting. So I don't remember what podcast I heard. I think it was Lewis Howes, and I think it was, I don't know if it was Huberman on his podcast, or someone was on the Lewis Howes podcast. I was listening to this podcast, and basically said the breath work that brings you back to baseline the most efficiently is the double inhale, long exhale.
Yep. And
so what I had a little experience probably about 1.5 years ago where I plugged in a new habit in my life where I made a commitment 2 years ago, probably, that 6 o'clock was my wife and kids were having dinner every night at 6 o'clock. Before we moved upstate, I was in the restaurants and I was not able to be a part of that a lot, right? Like it was hard for me to be home at 6 o'clock every night. And I didn't even think about it until I started doing it, until I started having dinner with them at 6 o'clock, because the pandemic, I was not in the restaurants anymore. I was in a different world.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, this is nuts. I haven't been part of this. This is like how the fuck am I not being a part of this thing?
Yeah.
And so I made a commitment. Boom, that's it. No more. Done. 6 o'clock. I am home. I'm having dinner with my wife and kids, period. However, coming home, like cutting work short for me at that time, which was cutting work short for sure, closing the computer, getting in the car and driving home was stress and anxiety. It was stressful. It was, I was bringing, not only was I bringing the anxiety that I was dealing with at work, startup life, but I was also stressed out that I was closing work down earlier than I thought I should be closing work down to get home with the family.
Yeah. And there's also that element too, I relate with that, where you made a commitment and I got to stick to that. Oh my God. And suddenly you're beating yourself up because you're not going to make that commitment. I think there's also that side of it,
sure,
in my opinion.
Yeah, there was anxiety, right? I would get into the driveway. I'm like, I'm gonna make it. I get there, I park the car.
Finish line.
Man, I walk through the door and I'm just like, like I could just I can only imagine that. Like I walked in with like flames coming out of my face, and like just that energy.
Yeah.
That energy is real.
Yeah.
So what I started doing
kids
was
recognize that too.
Totally, man. Yeah. Totally. And like, who recognize it most, that's obvious, is my dog. My dog.
Oh, yeah.
Dog
right.
just like look at me and be like, "Grr." Yeah. So I started a new habit that I've been doing to this day, which has been so helpful. Not that anxiety is not still alive in my life, because it is, right? There are days where I'm like, man, I could probably sit at the computer at the desk at the office for another 4 hours if I really wanted to. Make the commitment, shut it down. I pull into the driveway at 5:55. Halfway up the driveway, I shut the damn truck off. I'm sitting in my truck. I close my eyes. I take a big deep breath, and I do the double inhale, long exhale for 10 rounds. And I'm telling you that I transitioned from that intensity to baseline or better in 10 rounds of that breath work. I didn't know it until that's why I asked you to explain it, because I heard it and I just started doing it, but I didn't know that. Yeah. So that's so awesome, because it is so real. Like I almost feel high. The double inhale, long, slow exhale.
You're hyper oxygenating your blood. And the first place it goes is the smallest vessels in your body, which are your eyes, your brain, your genitals. Like you're now loading oxygen into those areas where you're typically not, because your heart's not pumping strong enough to push it out to those areas. So when you do that, you're hyperventilating, you're hyper oxygenating your body. And that the result is like, whoa, this is awesome.
Yeah, right? Definitely is awesome.
Yeah.
Anybody who's looking to like transition from an anxiety experience to ultimately a way more calm, cool, collected experience, probably BPMs of 95 to 110 down to like a 55 to 70.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. So we got to wrap this thing up soon. I want to just get through. Your sleep routine is really important to me to hear, because I also was reading recently an article about 8 hours of sleep. And it was very clear, a guy named Arthur Brooks, I think his name is, he's a Harvard Business School professor, focuses on this stuff. And he said that if you are not getting 8 hours of sleep a night, you are just surviving. You're not growing. You may think you are, but you're really not. The 8 hour period, which means you might have to be in bed for 9 hours. The difference in your life that you will experience between 7 hours of sleep and 8 hours of sleep is drastic.
Yeah.
I don't know what 8 hours of sleep is, because I never get it. I always get 7 to 7.5 typically. So it just made me want to like change that.
Yeah.
So just quickly walk us through the rest of your routine.
So Theragun, Theraface, then I lay down and I breathe. And I don't do the double breath. I'll just go really big in 5 seconds, hold 5 seconds, exhale 5 seconds. It's just a 5 second. They say a box, like the 4 second box breathing. I do 5 because it does something to me. I close my eyes and I try to see through the darkness in my eyes. And I try to find a color that I'll be able to see when my eyes closed. So if I'm laying there at night, I mentioned to you last night that it's much easier, I realized, when I was laying on a massage table and had something pushing against my eyes. So I'll throw those on and just have them rest against my eyes. If I can't sleep, I got too much going on. Even after all of that, I lay down. Oh shit, I forgot about that. And then there it is. I'll throw those on. So that's my routine. And when I wake up during the night, we all do, and you start thinking, where's my phone or whatever? Wink, wink over there. I don't do that, and I go right back to the breathing exercise. Because these avatars that we're in, they need rest, right? So and I look at it that way. Like, right now is not the time to fix this problem or chase that deal or do this thing or respond to that email. Right now is time to rest this avatar. I have a hard time getting 8 hours. A lot of time is just because of life. But when I do get 8 hours, I feel a difference. I really do. So that's my sleep routine. My covers, my pillows, brush my teeth, get ready for bed, take my supplements, AG1, sit down, Theragun, Theraface, goggles, breathe, pillows, make sure everything's situated. And it's a routine. You talked about it a second ago. It's a routine. It's rigid, whatever, but that's what I do. And when I do that, my body knows what to do.
Yeah, man. I believe so much in it. I really do. I believe so much in it. I have a really strict one too for bedtime.
What's yours? Have you shared it yet?
Yes, I've shared. I actually haven't shared like the full on sleep routine, but basically, if I put the kids down, I'm done with that by 7:45. I have a high protein requirement every day, and I know that 50 grams of protein is all I can really metabolize in a efficient way at any one dose. So at 7:45, I make myself a protein smoothie to catch that last 20 or 30 grams of protein that I need for the day. So I do that. Most people would tell me, oh, you're eating too close to bedtime. It's not a good thing. I personally love the smoothie at 7:45, 8 o'clock. So I have a smoothie at 7:45, 8 o'clock. I have a CBD supplement that I take. Typically, my wife and I are watching some sort of a Netflix thing. We hold each other, which I think is so important.
I totally agree.
It's so important. You can lie next to your partner and not touch them.
It's not the same.
It's just, I feel like even just putting a hand on your partner's leg is like a different, it just offers something different. So we touch each other while we're watching something on Netflix, whatever. And then typically we are up in bed by 9:30. I have a mattress topper that keeps my mattress very, very cold. She likes it hot, just like your wife. I like it cold. So one side keeps it hot, cold. One side keeps it hot. I have the mattress topper. We have blackout shades. I am a big believer in sleep mask. I've been using a sleep mask forever. It's really game changer. And so sleep mask for me, and I do something a little different that most people would probably tell me is a fucking mistake, but I kind of love it, and it helps me, and it puts me right out. I put one AirPod in my ear, and I listen to a really heavy, boring book most nights. And sometimes I'll like that book, Sapiens. I don't know if you've ever read that book, but man, like it's a dense, like 1,500 page book from like the beginning of humankind. And like, it's just a great book. Like there's some cool things that I'll catch right before I pass out, but literally I'm in the bed. I'm typically out within a minute of sleep, and then I'll wake up in the middle of the night.
Pop those out.
Yeah, I'll pop it out, throw it on the side of the bed, and but that's pretty much my sleep routine every night. it can be better. And now I've got to just incorporate this stuff, because I just know how important the damn sleep is, man. I know how important the sleep is.
And getting your body ready for it too, that's a big piece of it.
Are there any habits before we close that you just simply cannot live without, that you've introduced into your life outside of Therabody stuff, that you just think have really, really helped you develop as a human being?
Meditation. For sure, meditation. And it doesn't, when I say that, it's not like, candles and pads and all that stuff. It's meditation for me sometimes is going down. I live in Manhattan Beach, walking down to the Strand and just standing there with my eyes closed and just breathing. Just giving my mind a minute where I'm not trying to fix things. And even my quantum breathing, if you think about it, that to some extent is tasks. These are things that I want in my life I'm focused on, which is great, but there's times where I just need nothing. It could be the moments right before I go to sleep. It could be in the car on my way to work, park my car, close my eyes, and just think of nothing for a minute. That's changed my life. We were talking about this last night about just things that are different. Like I noticed that I'm different. That's one of the things that's made it different for me.
But do you have a specific meditation practice that you do? Or is it all different for you?
Well, and you're getting personal here. I love it. I have a song that is a trigger for me, and I'll play that song. It's about 14 minutes, and the way the song plays, I've never told anyone this, so this is kind of weird that I'm telling you this, but the way the song plays, I reflect on my life. So the first sort of intro tones and tunes are me being born. What did that look like? And over the next 15 minutes, I sort of go through these phases and I remember and appreciate how I grew up, my family, the way my mom fed me when I was younger, like all these things I start remembering and I reflect on that. So for me, that really grounds me, because then when I see where I am today, I'm so thankful. Like, oh my God, I'm so glad that all that happened to put me where I am today. And by the way, what? Like, look where I am today. I would have never thought I'd have, what I do. But it's so valuable to me now because I get a chance to reflect. So there's a trigger, that song. I know when I'm walking down to the beach, I'll find it on my phone, plug my earbuds in, and I start playing that. And I just start reflecting. A good one for me is I'm doing that while I'm laying down. Not on the bed. I'll lay on a yoga mat, and I'll have Theragun in my hand, and I'll be just treating myself while I'm just thinking through. I'm not even really paying attention where I'm doing it. But that, you take that away from me, I'm not the same person.
Dude, this was such an awesome conversation, man.
Yeah.
We talked about a lot.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful that you popped on the show.
Thanks for having me. This is really cool.
Really good combo. For the listener, where can they follow your journey and check out Therabody, and what's a good place to find you?
So on Instagram, I'm at Dr. Jason Wersland, Dr. Jason Wersland. Therabody is at Therabody. I do a live and I engage a lot with the Therabody Instagram, but mine is just sort of my ventures and trips and people I meet and all that. So that's one of the things. We also have an education for those of you who want to look it up. We have education on our website that teaches you how to use this for performance, how to use it for sleep, how to use it if you're a massage therapist. So we've really tried to curate some specific protocols for that. So that's on the website. I don't use Twitter a lot. I probably should, but I don't. I'm not a TikTok guy yet. So
if there's one tool that you guys have in the lineup,
that's a tough one.
What would you say for the person that doesn't have experience with Therabody yet?
Wow. That's a tough one, honestly. It's really tough because I can't say one, and it's not like I'm obligated to say one. I think probably a Theragun or a Mini. That will open your mind to, wow. I met a lady, I got to tell you this really fast. I met a lady in the Apple store in Austin, Texas, and I was picking up a laptop, and she's looking my name up on the computer, and I said my name, and it says Dr. Jason Therabody. She's like, oh my God, I just got a Theragun for Christmas. This is January of last year. I'm like, really? Who gave it to you? She's like, my brother. I'm like, how did you know about it? I was at his house for Thanksgiving. He had one. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this. So he bought me one for Christmas. How does it make you feel? She's like, oh my God. So she starts telling me how it makes her feel. And I love that. Like that to me makes all the sacrifice and pain that I went through to get it out there worth it. So it's kind of a selfish thing. And then I was like, wait, if I told you that I had other products that made you feel the same way, would you believe me? She's like, absolutely. Would you have believed me in the early parts of November before you felt Theragun? She goes, probably not. So the reason I'm bringing that up is we make the products to affect your nervous system, and it's an experience. So depending on what you can't sleep, Theragun. Your back hurts, Theragun. Headache, I could go down the list. So I think if someone wants to be introduced to our brand, a mini for the price and what it provides for you is probably one of the best ones.
Booyah. You heard it here, folks. Get online, jump over to Therabody, grab yourself a mini. Ladies and gents, I am so grateful that you took the time to listen to this podcast today. It would mean the world to me if you wrote a review and gave us a 5-star rating. But what would mean even more to me is if you shared the podcast with a friend, a family member, anyone, someone on the street, someone you meet on the plane. You're sitting on the plane, just say, hey, check out this podcast. That would mean the world to me. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Jason, I appreciate you. Thank you guys so much for tuning in once again. Until the next one, peace.